stood up and spoken out against the occupation of Palestine and spoken for the liberation and self-determination of the Palestinian people. I'm Mark Lamont Hill, and this is a word about why Black Americans should support Palestinian liberation. I first became interested in the Middle East when I became interested in Malcolm X. I read Malcolm's story, and when I saw that Malcolm in 1959 and again in 1964 had made these trips to Africa and also to the Middle East, I became interested in what Malcolm was interested in, which was thinking about Black freedom on a global scale. I then went back to graduate school after my PhD to pursue another degree in Middle East studies. I wanted to know what it meant to be Black in Jordan or Iran or Egypt or Palestine. Since the end of the 19th century, there has been a growing battle over the area that is now known as Israel and Palestine. Waves of Jewish immigration into the region, combined with tensions over land, over employment, over law, over what the state would look like, have gotten more and more and more intense over this period of time. Over decades, we saw a greater and greater emphasis on pushing Palestinians off of the land, taking away land rights, taking away employment opportunities, and you saw resistance, you saw struggle, you saw battles, and at the same time, you also have increased anti-Semitism, you have increased pressure around the globe, which is compounded once you get to the 1930s and 1940s, because you now have this thing called World War II. Of course, you have the Holocaust. You have all these things that are legitimizing a very real need to find a safe haven for Jewish people. The question was, how do we provide a safe haven for Jewish people and still honor the fact that there are indigenous Palestinians on this land who have a right to be here? And so for that reason, we see a struggle over the region and over that particular slice of land that continues until today. To call it a settler colonial project is not to deny the legitimacy of Judaism or of Jewish people in the region. Settler colonialism is not just controlling the territory and the land, but it's actually moving onto that land and replacing the indigenous people of the land. Israeli settler colonialism is more complicated than other places. There is a long-standing and legitimate Jewish presence in Israel and in historic Palestine. And what we've seen since 1882, which is the beginning of the first major immigration, is not just a wave of people coming in, but a very organized and systematic attempt to push Palestinians out. I don't like to make apples to apples comparisons between what Palestinians are going through and what we're going through. I don't want people to feel like struggles have to be the same to be worth the investment in them. That said, there's a long tradition of Black folk who have stood up and spoken out against the occupation of Palestine and spoken for the liberation and self-determination of the Palestinian people. Huey P. Newton and the Black Panthers believed in the struggle of the Palestinian people and showed solidarity. So you got from Malcolm, SNCC, the Panthers, Angela Davis, June Jordan. A Black person standing with Palestine ain't new. There are people in the United States who say, look, Black folk are catching enough hell here. We should put our 100% attention on that. And I ain't mad at people that say that. I don't agree, but I understand the impulse to say, look, cops are shooting us. The economy is collapsing. Schools are broken. How can I think about someone in Palestine? We should care about the Palestinian freedom struggle first because they're human beings. And as African people, we don't have the luxury of choosing who we're going to be allied with. We have to side with all principled, humanistic freedom struggles. I don't care where they are. We can't get free unless everybody's free. That's not just some lefty cliche. That's a fact. The networks of power, the structures of power that oppress people in one country are connected to the structures that oppress people in this country. So for Black folk to get free, everybody needs to be free. We have an opportunity to not just offer solidarity in words, but to commit to political action, grassroots action, local action, and international action that will give us what justice requires. And that is a free Palestine from the river to the sea. When I said free Palestine from the river to the sea, I was making a call for justice for Palestinian people who live inside the state of Israel, for those Palestinian people who are in the West Bank, and for those who are in Gaza. There are different forms of oppression and violence and occupation happening in each of those areas. And I was saying, I don't want to just talk about one of those areas. I want to talk about all those areas. And my ultimate vision is a single democratic state, one person, one vote, secular for everybody. No Jew should be pushed out. No Jew should be harmed. No Palestinian should be pushed out. No Palestinian should be harmed. For me, this is the vision. That means that the land should be free from the river to the sea. That was the argument. Some people said, oh, but Hamas says from the river to the sea. And if Hamas says it, then you must be supporting Hamas and you must be supporting a project of eliminating Jews from the area. Let me be very clear. At no point was I calling for harm to Jewish people, violence against Jewish people, for pushing Jewish people out of the land. None of that is what I'm calling for. None of that is what I believe in. We must fight for and protect Jewish brothers and sisters at all costs. Jews have a right to self-determination, to freedom, to justice, to safety, to protection, to dignity. They do, but so do Palestinians. I'm calling for Palestinian self-determination and freedom. I'm calling for the liberation of Palestinian people. And if Israel were occupied, I'd be calling for the same thing. If Jews were under attack in Israel the way Palestinians are, I'd be calling for that. The same way I do for Jews who are under attack all around the world. In Europe, in the United States, in the Middle East, we have to protect Jewish people, but it can't be the only conversation we have. We have to be able to talk about protecting Jewish people and protecting Palestinian people and protecting vulnerable people around the world. And if we can do that, now we got a real movement.
You can't get free till everybody's free. Comrades, revolutionaries, truth seekers, welcome to another episode of the Colonizer's Coffin, giving you blunt discussion, real news, cynical takes on pop culture, and raw history, no chaser. I am your host, John Tell. Let us embark on a journey through time and truths that shape our world, from the untold stories of history to today's pressing issues. This is the space where knowledge meets revolution. Together, let's explore the narratives that have been hidden, discuss the challenges we face, the stuff we don't discuss enough, and unravel the mysteries that surround us. We're not just observers. We're active participants in the revolution of knowledge, so please hit the like button and share the stream. Follow us on all our platforms: Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, Twitch, X, and Spotify. Just search the Leon Block. All right, first I want to get into some updates of news before I get into what I want to talk about real quick. All right, so not a single Western nation is supporting South Africa's genocide against Israel. Those who claim to uphold freedom don't seem to be doing so well, huh? Stay woke. Some of those who are supporting Bangladesh, Bolivia, Brazil, Colombia, Jordan, Malaysia, Maldives, Namibia, Nicaragua, Pakistan, Palestine, of course, Turkey, Venezuela, the Arab League, and more. Brooklyn Center, Minnesota City Council decided to not reform the police department policy changes that the city promised. They were all shot down. So a protest will be held tomorrow at 5:30 p.m. outside the police station. Mother of Dante Wright, a young black man shot and killed by Brooklyn Center police in 2021, Katie Wright, condemned the decision, stating that black and brown people are not safe in Brooklyn Center. Hundreds of thousands of protesters took to the streets across Germany to denounce the right-wing party AfD. Oh, make sure you watch the Urban Conservative. His latest episode was about the realities of drug war, exposing the pervasive racial targeting that has left a deep mark on our society. So make sure you go over and check that out, y'all. So I have a question that y'all can comment. Let me know what y'all thoughts are, what the answer that y'all might have for me is, and I will give an answer back at the end of the episode. But when did Iran change its name from Persia? Does anyone know? I got a link to an article that has the answer, and I will provide that at the end of the episode. But for now, let's go ahead and get into the topic for today. So, should Black people support Palestinians in their struggles? Why? We're going to take a deep dive into the history, backstory, shared connections, parallels, and solutions on a path forward. I had a friend message me the other day, and he was going on about how I shouldn't be supporting the Palestinian struggle and how they ain't never did nothing for us, and we need to mind our business. That's their battle, blah, 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 blah. I laughed. I gave the laugh emoji and I didn't respond, but I'll respond now. So if you're watching or listening, hopefully you'll get what I'm saying. So I got some links to some articles that I will share momentarily. Maybe once we go on break, I will share some links for some very powerful information to help paint the picture of what I'm talking about here. So Matthew Scott, shout out to Matthew Scott, said a struggle against an oppressor is universal. That is very true. I think being oppressed is a language that it's a shared common ground, and one person to the next can understand what each other are going through, right? Reasons. What are the reasons? We are blood. They are our people. We are not alone in the struggle of occupancy, and there are physical products to support that. Surveillance shows that. Documentation and system structures show that. We need to stand with others. We're no better than anybody else. We'll talk about the way of life, the parallels of occupation, but the fact that they've always stood with us too. Here's some quotes from some prominent Black figures that have supported Palestine, and some parallels between Palestinian life and Black American life. So Malcolm X, European imperialists wisely placed Israel where she could geographically divide the Arab world. That is a quote from Malcolm X that he specifically said. So he was in support of Palestine and stood with the Palestinian struggle. Malcolm X also met with the Palestinian Liberation Organization, the PLO. I believe he's one of the first, prominent Black figures to do so. The Black Panther Party also were vocal in their support for Palestine and met with the PLO in 1969. James Baldwin, in his 1972 essay, Take Me to the Water, said, quote, "And if I had fled to Israel, a state created for the purpose of protecting Western interests, I would have been in a yet tighter bind. On which side of Jerusalem would you have decided to live?" Muhammad Ali also openly declared his support for the Palestinian people and their struggles. He marched for Palestinian rights and visited a refugee camp in southern Lebanon. In 1969, the Reverend Jesse Jackson met with the PLO to urge the U.S. to speak directly to Palestine instead of going through other parties. Jesse Jackson sat in a room watching Nelson Mandela, speak in Harlem about his solidarity with the Palestinian people. Desmond Tutu also drew global attention to the plight of Palestinians. Toni Morrison said, quote, "A distraction in order to divert world attention from a long-term military, economic, and geographic practice whose political aim is nothing less than the liquidation of the Palestinian nation." Mark Lamont Hill, as y'all know from the clip that I showed you, my brother was famously fired from CNN for saying at a UN function, quote, local action and an international action that would give us what justice requires, and that is a free Palestine from the river to the sea. Dr. Cornel West, also, who is running for president, also has been very vocal about the Palestinian struggle. I don't need to go into any quotes because there is many documented. Go check that out. Angela Davis also has countlessly spoken about the Palestinian struggle, so much as to go on Democracy Now! On multiple occasions to speak about it. And we will post links to clips as to that as well. South Africa understands apartheid and stands with Palestine, hence them taking Israel to the World Court. A statue of Mandela sits in Ramallah as a gift to Palestinians from South Africa. So there's an example right there of Black and Palestinian solidarity. Let's not forget that there are Black Palestinians. You may have relatives there. Think about that. The first Palestinian killed during the Second Intifada in 2000 was Osama Jiddah, an Afro-Palestinian shot on his way to donate blood. And here's a picture of a Black Palestinian woman and her granddaughter. Comment from Matthew Scott says, should be supporting Palestine? Yes. Should be supporting Jewish folks? Yes. Should we be supporting Israeli folks protesting against our government? Yes. Should we be supporting Germans and Russians against our governments? Yes. And finally, should we be supporting Black folk in America? Yes. Couldn't agree with you more, my brother. But yes, there are there are Black Palestinians. So they are our people. We may have relatives over there. And I will get into some other things as to why I back this up too. But there's a shared struggle here. Every Palestinian rally, march, and protest I go to, I see countless amounts of Afro-Palestinians. They range in appearance, and folks need to understand that it's like Puerto Ricans or Black Americans even. We range in complexion too, you know? Yes. So, music, right? Music. Lauryn Hill famously even canceled a Tel Aviv concert in 2015. Many hip-hop artists have been outspoken on the issues surrounding Palestine. Many, including the rapper formerly known as Mos Def. I forget his real name right now. It's like escaping me, but Mos Def. Dead Prez, Black Star, The Roots, Vic Mensa. Many rappers talk about Palestine. The fight for freedom for Palestine is a fight against imperialism. Imperialism, which is a fight that we are all involved in as this world and economy and everything is global. Freedom will not come for Black Americans unless freedom comes for all oppressed people. And anyone who doesn't even consider that, I think, is a bit naive. Palestinians have always showed support for Black Americans and the struggle and plights that we face here. Remember, the same materials they use to brutalize us in America, the tear gas, all the chemicals, all that shit, is the same shit they produce and send to Israel to brutalize Palestinians. And we pay for it. We pay for our own brutalization here in America, but we also pay for their brutalization over there. So tell me why we can't support them. We are the same. The only differences are that they are bound by physical borders with checkpoints on land the size of Manhattan, packed in so tight the average Black American couldn't even fathom. You cannot fathom having your electricity, water, certain commodities monitored and rationed off and controlled by outside sources. We have limitations in that sense that are brought by our own laziness or limitations. Anyway, that statistics mirror in many ways, everything from diabetes to miscarriages to anxiety, depression, and shit ton more. But the Palestinian people are resilient people, as are we. And as Mark Lamont Hill said, we're not comparing. It's not about comparing the struggles or how long we've been in the struggle, right? We must help them. They see us. Let's see them. They are people. The structures of Israeli-Palestinian society are the same as ours. Theirs are just more blunt and defined, but they are the same. Theirs are just more brutal and foul. We must pay attention to the parallels. I think if the average Black American went to Palestine and saw the way of life there, they would be enraged and utterly shocked. You know, like, we directly pay to kill Palestinians. We all do. As much as Black Americans contribute to this economy, we should be doing as much as we can to show solidarity by any means necessary. Genocide. I mean, camaraderie is needed for longevity as a people that have struggles and oppression. It's important that we connect and network and show solidarity with other peoples across the globe that also face the same trials and a people with the same afflictions. We must understand that we're not alone. We're not the only people going through shit. We must not turn into and be the same thing that controlled and controls us. We must be better. Hell, we can't even come together with each other. We have no right to go and tear down anyone else who sees it important to connect with other oppressed or subjugated or enslaved peoples. Palestinians have been pushed around and killed and moved and detained indefinitely for almost 80 years. Yeah, we've been going through it for 400 and some years. The same shit, but this isn't about the length of time. This is about how we can learn from one another. It's about helping one another. Be the change you want to see in the world instead of the evil you were fed to be. You know, don't be your slave master. Show compassion. Understand what happens outside these borders happens here too. Or if it happens there, it will happen here too. Hell, our police here in America train in Israel by the IOF. The Black folk quick to claim we shouldn't support or show solidarity for anyone else are the old grumpy people in the room that want everyone else to be miserable because they're miserable and in pain, yet they want no help. Ooh. Okay. Why should Black Americans support Palestinians in their struggles? Because we're human. Because they're human. Because we know struggle. Because they know struggle. Because the weapons used on them are the same ones used on us. Because they are our blood. That are Black Palestinians. Because they are you and you are them. And united we stand, divided we fall. They are not our enemy. They don't seek competition for limelight. Get that mindset out your head and focus. We need unity. All right, that wraps up tonight's ramble. Catch us on Facebook, Twitch, X, YouTube, and Instagram. So let's dive into the narratives that shape our world. We'll have special guests, live interactions, and even call-ins. Your voice matters in this journey of discovery. Y'all share the wisdom, spread the knowledge, tune in, engage, and join the revolution. Follow, share, set your reminders. Together, let's unravel the threads of history. Let's explore, um, you know, untold stories, secrets. We'll draw connections between pop culture phenomena and or historical or societal events, discussing how entertainment reflects or influences our perceptions. Uh, we'll dive into mysteries of ancient civilizations, conspiracy theories, archaeological discoveries, and untold stuff. We'll give you updates on current events, keep you informed and engaged with the latest news. Of course, we'll infuse historical events and figures in depth every day, every other day, every week, however, with context and insights. And we may discuss the relevance to today's world, or we may not, but we'll dive into intriguing conspiracy theories, separate fact from fiction sometimes, and even encourage listeners to share their thoughts or theories as well. We'll even highlight music that complements the theme of each episode. I'll share my favorite tunes or those suggested by listeners. Today, I want to share my album I dropped in November last year called House Free 3, Justice and Freedom, with features by none other than Lovely Parker, Matt Prophet of Past, The Urban Conservative, Trip Young, Mansa Abuchi. It's about Palestine. It's about giving perspective, stories, facts, statistics, and voices of Palestinian people protesting in the nation's capital for their families back in Palestine. It's meant to combine light and dark, happy, sad, hopeful, yet drained. It's meant to provide rest, but also dance, a way to still smile and savor life. So go check out my album, House Free 3, Justice and Freedom. My artist name is Circumstantial, so you can find the album on any streaming music streaming service or platform. We'll also do a segment called Listeners Lounge. So we'll provide a space for listeners to share their stories, their questions or thoughts. We'll have call-ins, emails, social media messages, however you want to reach out. You could do it. You could do it anonymously if you want. I want to hear from you. Let me know your thoughts. And you can reach me at theleonblock@gmail.com. You can DM me here via the Leon Block Independent Media. You can reach out to the Leon Block Network as well. And so as we reach another captivating episode, I want to thank every one of you, our incredible audience, for joining this journey. Your engagement, your questions and thoughts make revolutionary narratives what it is. Remember, the revolution doesn't end here. Stay curious, question the narratives, continue seeking the truth, share your insights with us, and let's build a community that thrives on knowledge and understanding. Don't forget to tune in next time for another chapter of Revelations. Until then, this is John Tell. Stay revolutionary.